Pole work is a very valuable tool in the rehabilitation and conditioning of horses. One exercise that can be laid out and used in many different ways is a labyrinth. These are laid out using 6 poles intertwined in a U shape with each other. They are great for people working their horses without someone else to move the poles for them. Labyrinths aid in balance, coordination, proprioception, core stability, as well as the recruitment of specific muscles and carrying out individual exercises. Labyrinths are a great tool for horses coming back into work after a timeout, as it provides lots of mental stimulation as well as the conditioning element. It is a very versatile exercise and can also be used for horses already in work as a conditioning exercise. There are some contraindications for labyrinths, such as acute injury, as well as soft tissue injuries such as suspensory issues. These cases must walk in straight lines and on firm surfaces. Horses with kissing spines shouldn't complete labyrinths, as to complete some parts of the labyrinth the horse will have to bend and flex around, and if they have had any areas of impingement on the spine, this will cause discomfort. Like all forms of exercise, it is important to warm horses up correctly to bring freshly oxygenated blood to the muscle and increase synovial fluidity within the joint. This will help to decrease injury and help the horse perform to the best of its ability. The beginning stage of a rehabilitation program, this could just consist of an in-hand walk. One way of using the labyrinth is by leading or riding the horse through the track. This aids in proprioception, core stability and muscle strength. It is important to ensure that the horse is not rushing and is bending themselves around each turn. When flexing around the turn, this will recruit a stretch of the intercostal muscles. Walking through the labyrinth encourages lateral bending and therefore encourages the horse to step medially across the midline with the pelvic limb, which is on the inside of the bend, therefore recruiting a stretch of the biceps femoris muscle. Another exercise that can be carried out using this setup is guide poles for backing up. They can either go straight back or around the corner. More advanced horses may be able to back around the whole maze. Backing around corners targets specific limbs, so the limb on the outside must take a longer stride. Backing up aids in improving overall muscle coordination and proprioception. It requires the horse to tilt their pelvis, therefore mobilising the sacroiliac joint and flexing the lumbosacral junction. If the horse is suffering from acute SI pain, this would be too demanding for them and should be introduced later in the rehabilitation program. The rectus abdominis is engaged, and therefore this recruits their hind end, strengthening the hip flexors such as the iliopsoas. Backing up promotes push-off and protraction of the hind limbs and improves the swing phase of the forelimbs. Labyrinth can also be used as ground poles, walking and trotting over the middle of these, proven by Walker et al. In 2022 to increase stride length and flexion. One study by Clayton, Stubbs and Labingo in 2015 gave evidence to the use of trot poles for strengthening the musculature that supports the joints during stance, especially the forelimb extensor propulsive muscles and the forelimb adductors that maintain elevation of the withers when trotting over poles. Ground poles are an exercise that promote high level of motor neuron training and recruits abdominal and iliopsoas contraction. The hind limb is recruited, which therefore elevates the forehand and promotes hind limb engagement. Pole work is a full body workout and also recruits the multifidus muscle. Another way of using this setup is to walk and trot the horses over them randomly to act as scatter poles. Scatter poles encourage the horse to stretch their head and neck down to look where they're placing their feet. This creates thoracolumbar exertion. This exercise aids in proprioception in addition to stretching the horse along the apaxal muscles of the back. In addition to this, the poles can also be used to step over sideways to aid in abduction of the limb. Ensure that the horse keeps their body, head and neck straight so that they have to abduct their limb on the inside and adduct their limb on the outside, step across medially and increase flexion as they step over the pole. This will especially help improve the horse's lateral work and therefore hind limb engagement, in addition to proprioception. This will also provide both an abduction and adduction stretch of the muscles such as the pectorals and the biceps femoris. In addition to this, you can also position the horse over the poles and leg yield them across to improve straightness within the movement, in addition to the hind limb engagement and forelimb and hind limb abduction and adduction stretch that the leg yield provides. Most of these exercises can be done in both walk and trot. To begin with, they should all be done in hand, and then on the long rein, and if the horse is in ridden work, the poles can be introduced under saddle. The poles should be introduced gradually again when the horse is being ridden, as it will be much more difficult for the horse under saddle, with the added weight of the rider and the lack of support from the ground. For a rehabilitation case, this exercise should be introduced gradually and can start from 3 to 4 times a week, repeating 1 to 3 times for each exercise, and the repetitions should be slowly increased as the horse gets stronger. For a fit horse, the reps can start from 5 for each exercise and progress up to 10 reps. For a fit horse, this should be incorporated into their workload 1 to 4 times per week. Another set of 3 poles in a U shape can be added onto the end of the labyrinth to make it longer, and the poles can be raised too to increase the difficulty. A labyrinth is just one of many exercises that you can do using poles. Once the horse is fit and strong, there are endless possible setups that can be used using poles to condition horses.